Right now, the canvassing board is going through its process. I mean, it's interesting. The questions have to be answered. You want to make sure that the process is fair, open, and honest, and that the voters, actually, their wishes are honored. And in this case, since, 10 a.m. last Wednesday, we have gained over 1,000 votes. And there are some questions that remain with respect to absentee votes, with respect to military votes, with respect to some incredible mistake that supposedly was corrected in Hennepin County. I think these things need to be addressed, and the process will address those, and we'll see how it goes. You know, I just want to make sure the process works, and yeah, if the process works, yes, I would say.
How would you know whether or not the process works?
Well, these questions that we've apparently still got hanging out there, and you got to ask yourself, with just 6 days and less than a quarter, or approximately a quarter of the canvassing board's work done, you're already talking over 1,000 votes since last Wednesday at 10 a.m. I think we got to just wait for the process to finish.
This is all about numbers, which reflect the will of the people. Yesterday, Tom Emmer said, "The people have spoken, we just don't know what they said." Well, with all due respect, Mr. Emmer, we do know what the people said on Election Day. They said that they wanted a Republican majority in the State House and the State Senate, and they got it. They also said they wanted DFL constitutional officers, and that includes Mark Dayton, who a week ago, when 100% of the precincts had reported, had a lead of 8,856 votes. At 2 o'clock today, 1 week later, the lead was 8,755 votes. That's a difference of 101 votes. Now, typically, what happens in an election, as has happened many times, there will be some movement in the reporting from election night until the end of the county canvasses. That may range up to 1,500 votes. Well, everyone, I think, was more careful this year. And so the numbers are more accurate, there's been less movement, and again, Mark Dayton leads by more than 8,700 votes. Jess McIntosh, who was Senator Al Franken's spokesperson, said, "You can swim laps in 9,000 votes." It is a lot. Now, we've done some work over the last week, and we've looked at all statewide recounts in all the states of the Union in the last decade. There have been 18 of them. The average change in those recounts was 296 votes. Mark Dayton has a lead almost 30 times the average change in statewide recounts. Look at 2008, in which I was heavily involved. The change had Norm Coleman starting at 215 votes up, and he ended 312 votes down. That's a change of 527 votes. Right now, Mark Dayton has a lead that is 16 times the entire change in the 2008 recount and the 2008 and 9 election contest. And as the panelists have pointed out, there's one dramatic difference, which is the way absentee ballots are treated. Now, in his statement yesterday, Mr. Emmer identified some potential problems. First, he noted, "We've moved 1,000 votes." Again, with all due respect, not true if you start with the reporting of 100% of the precincts. I found the statement, by the way, where he was talking about how much they'd moved really quite ironic, because the Republicans just screamed bloody murder in 2008 when there was any adjustment from election night through the canvass. Second, he mentioned the Hennepin County reporting. This is very interesting. He is essentially complaining about the fact that Hennepin County caught a mistake that was hurting his vote reporting, and they fixed it. I wouldn't be complaining about that. I would be complimenting the Hennepin County officials for that. So that one's very strange as well. He mentioned regular absentee ballots. We had only about half of the absentee ballots that we had this year that we had in 2008. It was about 250,000. Last time it was 128,000 this time. You know how many were rejected? 3,041. So even if you assume that every absentee ballot that was rejected was wrongly rejected, and that within that envelope, every single absentee ballot went for Tom Emmer, he's only chewed into 3,000 of Mark Dayton's 8,700 vote lead. And by the way, the chances of erroneous rejection, and I went through each and every one of those rejected absentee ballots in 2008, the system is a lot better this year. Number 4, he mentioned military and overseas ballots. 1,900 of those were submitted and only 10 were rejected. Give Representative Emmer every one of those 10 and assume they were wrongly rejected. He hasn't made much progress. And then finally, there are some issues about vouching in one Minneapolis precinct. Those are the things that have been identified. But there are storm clouds on the horizon. If you read the Morning Star Tribune, here's a quotation from what was identified as a high-level Republican operative who spoke on the condition of anonymity. He said, quote, he or she said, quote, "I don't think there's any downside to keeping this recount going on as long as possible. If we keep the process going, there are opportunities for us in the upcoming legislative session." Well, Representative Emmer has the right to decide not to proceed with this recount, as election official Joe Mansky said. He has a right to do what he wants to do. However, if Mark Dayton had called me now, a week after the election, and said, "I'm down 8,700 votes," I would tell him, based on my experience in 2008 and the experience around the country, that he should call his opponent and congratulate him and wish him well. The option of going through this recount so as to set up an election contest where there aren't any real issues, and just to keep that going, to keep Governor Pawlenty in office, is one that I think a lot of people in this state would consider un-Minnesotan, and they would consider it a hijacking of government. Because I will tell you one thing, even if Representative Emmer does not know what the voters said on election night, I would suspect even he would concede that they did not say they wanted Governor Pawlenty to remain in office after his term has expired. I think that is pretty fair to say.